We have a physical brain. It is part of the physical body. Is the brain consciousness? No, of course not. And yet, the brain is the medium through which we experience and interact with consciousness. And so, when we talk about that consciousness is not the body, yes, that is true. Consciousness transcends the body. It is more than the body. And my ability to be conscious of consciousness is 100% contingent upon the functioning of my brain, my very physical brain. So, for example, what is her name? I'm sorry. So Carolina exists. I know that because I can see her. If I close my eyes and Carolina does not speak, and she does not emit any scent that is enough to cross these few feet, and she's too far for me to touch or taste her, I have absolutely no way of knowing that Carolina exists. But did you cease existing? Of course not. Okay. So that demonstration for me is very important, because when we speak about consciousness and we speak about the brain, you are consciousness. My senses are the brain in that example. I am reliant upon my five senses to interact with you. I have no other way of knowing you exist other than my five senses. And of course, intuition and heart connection, but I'm not going to go there right now. So I have five senses. They know that you are here. But you're not dependent upon my five senses. You exist anyway. So, consciousness exists, truth exists, the divine exists, love exists, all of that exists, and is totally independent of our ability to interact with it. God is there whether you're enlightened or not. The light is there whether you open your curtains or not. And you are not able to interact with that light unless you open your curtains. This is important with regard to mental illness because the brain functions chemically and electrically. That's just what it does. Every single thing that happens in our brain, every thought we have, every feeling we have, every emotion we have, is some combination of chemistry and electricity. When that chemistry and electricity gets disrupted, as happens in a wide variety of different mental illness issues, our ability to interact with truth, the universe, other people, changes. Like my ability to interact with you changes if my eyes are closed. Now, if you spoke, I would be able to interact with you through my ears, but not with my eyes. It changes. People with mental illness have I don't want to say impaired because that's a value judgment, but a different ability to interact with the universe. Now, what that means is when you talk about aspects of consciousness and awareness, well, that's going to mean something very different to someone, in the same way that if right now we all took a lot of LSD, or we all drank a lot of alcohol, or we all took a lot of some other random chemical, our consciousness would change. does to our brain. Whether they are recreational drugs, whether they are medicines, it changes the chemistry of your brain. That's what a pill does. It's what an alcoholic beverage does. But we all know how it changes our awareness, our consciousness. How many times under the influence of drugs or alcohol people do things that then they say, oh my God, that wasn't me. Sure, it was you. It was just you with a different chemical and electrical pattern of behavior in your brain. That's all that was different. And this is important because when that chemistry and electricity is functioning in a way that prevents us from interacting with the world in the way that we want to be able to, there is nothing wrong with getting assistance for that. In the same way that if, for example, I went blind or I couldn't open my eyes for some reason, and I very much wanted to interact with her, and so I said, Carolina, could you speak? I need to interact with you. I need some assistance to interact with you. Or if I couldn't hear and I wanted to interact with you and I got a hearing aid, there's nothing wrong with that. That improves my ability to interact in a certain way with you. And whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's depression, whether it's any one of a whole variety of other ways that our brain chemically and electrically gets readjusted, there's nothing wrong with that, in the same way that there's nothing wrong with taking insulin to adjust how your body processes it. And especially with something like schizophrenia, where we know there's a massive genetic component, we know that it doesn't just get better. We know that talk therapy doesn't treat it. And if you can utilize whatever science gives us to recalibrate the electricity and the chemistry in the brain so that I can interact with consciousness, with truth, with love, both outside of myself and inside of myself, in a way that is more in the line of from darkness to light, from falsehood to truth, then why not